Good evening, friends. So, on behalf of Breath Energy Online Meditation Singapore, once again, I welcome you all for this wonderful evening wisdom sharing session. We are so deeply grateful to have with us today Ms. Anusha, a dedicated seeker whose path with Anapanasati meditation, which is the breath energy meditation, is a beautiful reminder of what happens when we align with our inner truth. Professionally, Ms. Anusha works as a product expert in IT development solutions, balancing a successful career and a loving family life. Yet, like many of us on the spiritual path, she felt an inner calling, a quiet search for the practice that felt natural, effortless, and entirely self guided. That search found its answer in late 2022 when she was introduced to Anapanasati meditation. From her very first 1 hour session, the connection was instant and profound. What began that day has grown into an unbroken daily practice over the past 3.5 years, leading to a complete inner transformation. Through her practice, long standing fears and anger have dissolved, giving way to a deep sense of gratitude, joy, and peace. Most remarkably, her spiritual practice shifted her perspective from feeling that life was unfair to deeply realizing that we are the creators of our own lives, viewing every past challenge not as an obstacle but as a meaningful step on the soul's journey. It is a true privilege to have her with us today to share her insights and experience about holistic health. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Ms. Anusha. Thank you, Ms. Anusha. It's over to you.
Thank you, Punita. That was a beautiful introduction. Uh, but I would just say that I am also a seeker like each one of you here. I see a lot of senior meditators here, practitioners here. So, a very heartfelt greetings to one and all. It is my pleasure that I am speaking in this platform, I would say. So, quickly to jump in the topic, I am speaking on holistic health today. So, what do we understand about holistic health? Now, all this while, we've always been focusing only on one aspect, that is the physical health, or rather, let me put it this way: till the time I entered into the path of meditation, I always focused on health, that is only the physical health factor. But once I entered into the path of meditation, I realized it was not only about the physical health. There was a bigger aspect of health called as a holistic health. Now, what is holistic health? Holistic health consists of five categories. One is the physical health, one is your mental or emotional health, one is the intellectual health, then comes the spiritual health and social health. Now, given the time that we have, I'm just going to cover a brief overview of each of the category that I just mentioned here. So, coming on to physical health, what does your physical health mean is simple. It corresponds to your vitality of your body. That is, you can correlate it with the engine of a car. You can see if the engine of the car is very healthy, you can drive anywhere. If the engine of the car is not great, it can break down in any place. So, which means that if you need to reach the destination, you need to have a very strong engine, and that's exactly our physical health, because we as souls have chosen this vehicle, or rather this body, to go through our life. So if we don't have a good and a healthy body, we are not going to be able to reach our destination. So what's the important aspect that we need to consider here is you need to maintain a able and a flexible body. So here I would say a simple tips that you can follow to maintain an able and a flexible body is uh, dedicate a few minutes of on a daily basis for exercise, basically stretching yourself, It could be any form of physical exercise, yoga, it could be walking, it could be even household chores that you're doing. If you manage the household chores, which requires a lot of physical effort, great. That helps you in keeping a healthy physical body. The other important aspect that contributes to your physical health is the diet that you consume. So it's obviously recommended that you consume a good sattvic diet. Now, from my scientific perspective, when you consume a vegetarian diet, it is easy for you to digest, and you can avoid heart diseases, you and any other major illnesses. Uh, Obviously, the role of vegetarian diet, there is another aspect why I say vegetarian diet is because when you eat the diet of um, pain and suffering, you go through a lot of pain and trauma yourself. Basically, you're going to consume that particular pain into yourself. You're absorbing that pain, and then you relive the pain and the fear that you have just consumed. Excuse me. So be sensitive to your body, avoid overeating at any point of time, and that's how you can maintain a good physical health. Uh, let's come to the next aspect is your emotional health or your mental health. Now, we all know emotions can make you or break you. So it's one of the most important aspects of our health. And we need to have a very strong mind to ensure that we have a good emotional and a mental health. Now, in my own personal example, I would say that I have always had a very strong mind, but there was something on the emotions wherein I felt that there are some areas where I could not help myself. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is some places like you carry a lot of guilt within yourself, or you judge yourself a little bit too much. These were the areas where I was not too aware that I was silently breaking myself. And this is one of the reasons why I faced certain challenges in relationships, or you could say life challenges, which is teaching me. Only after entering into the path of spirituality, I realized that my emotional health needed a lot of balancing. And one of the most important contributing factors to that emotional health was the guilt that I was carrying within myself. So after coming here, I realized guilt was a poison to my soul. I could not carry on guilt. And I consciously started telling myself that it is okay, Anusha. In the past, whatever mistakes have happened, it's okay. My awareness levels was just that. Today, I could be a better me. So what am I trying to say is it's okay. Whatever happens in the past is the past. You did not know it. You did it by mistake. Today, if you just become little bit more aware, you are going to be able to correct your life in a better order, which means that on a daily basis, each one of us are just improving. And we just need to understand that even we are in the path of self improvement. And what we were yesterday, we are just one bit better today. So, this would be one of the most important aspects in terms of an emotional health, wherein you increase your awareness. Every time you realize that you are reacting to something, you just take a pause and you tell yourself that let me respond rather than react. This is another area where I have always felt that, I needed this kind of an improvement in my own life. Uh, Another tip to maintain a good emotional health would be connect to nature, listen to a lot of good music, good pleasant music, because music calms your mind. And as soon as your mind is calm, then you will be able to realize that you get in touch with yourself in a better way. Practicing mindfulness is another beautiful practice. This requires a lot of practice, but it's just with awareness that over time you'll be able to master it. If you were to ask me, am I a master in mindfulness practice? No. I am still a student. I am a learner of the mindfulness practice. A lot of times I falter, but every time I falter, I tell myself it is okay. I'm going to correct myself better tomorrow. So so one of the most important aspects you avoid to maintain a good emotional and mental health is avoid self-doubt, avoid self-judgment. Instead, accept yourself as you are fully, and you know that you have a good emotional health. Why do I say all of this? Is because only if you have a good emotional health will you be free of any kind of diseases. At the end of the day, any diseases that we are facing, the root cause of it is we have some emotions that we are carrying within ourselves, and that is coming up to us in the form of diseases, wherein the body tells us, hey, hold on, pause, you need to give some time and look within yourself. So that's why emotional health is really, really important in our lives. Let's move to the next aspect of our health is nothing but our intellectual health. Intellect, by the word by itself, what does it mean? Intellect is nothing but it's by definition, and this is by Pradeep sir. Most of what I speak today is the teachings of Pradeep sir. I would say is a distilled essence of your experiences over various lifetimes. Many of you must have wondered that you as even as a kid, your maturity could be much better than someone else's maturity. I have wondered in my own case that in some places I understand things in a much deeper sense, and there are areas where I don't understand things at all, and I never got the answers. I just kept it to myself. After coming into the spiritual path, I realized possibly my experiences in those areas must have been much deeper, and hence my understanding is probably much deeper. So, maintaining good intellectual health would mean that you always remain open minded to anything that comes into your way. Always go with a learning mindset and never close yourself and say that I know everything. Because intellect by itself is always advancing with each and every lifetime. It's not complete. It's you must have had about 200 lifetimes or 200 lives that you would have taken, which means that you have had a good amount of intellect. There is someone who's taken about 100 lifetimes, which means their intellect has grown up to that level. And there's someone else who has taken 400 lifetimes, their intellect has grown up to that level. What I mean to say here is intellect grows as we progress in each of our lifetimes. It's never complete because there is always dimensions of truth that we are yet to discover. So how do I improve my overall intellectual health is always when you see that you have a better understanding than someone else, you tell yourself that is fine, they are fine in their perspective. I probably have a better understanding here, there are some areas that I need to improve on, and I would stay open minded, and I'm always ready to learn to anything new that is coming my way. Uh, Another way to improve your intellectual health would be creative, explore all kinds of arts, because arts gives a lot of happiness to the soul, which means that when you're happy, your intellect improves, and you may stand to maintain a good intellectual health. So let's move to the next aspect, which is called as a spiritual health. Now, this is one of the most important aspects, I would say. Spiritual health is the root of everything. So, if you have a good spiritual health, you enjoy, it's like you have a very strong root and you enjoy the root of all the other health. We have one more to cover. So, including that, we have a beautiful holistic health that we have when we have a great spiritual health, is what I would say. Now, again, I would correlate it with my own example. Before entering into the path of meditation, while I knew that there was something missing, I always attributed my aspect of health to only the physical and the emotional aspect of health. Now, only after entering into the path of meditation, I realized how important it is to have a good spiritual health, which means that how important it is to be self-aware, how important it is uh, to practice meditation on a daily basis. So basically, spiritual health corresponds to the fact of understanding that you are an eternal being and you are not just this body. That's what I mean by a spiritual health. So the moment we understand that we are not just this body, we are souls and we are an eternal being, there is a disconnect between ourselves and the life that is being led by us. You immediately become a witness and you start noticing yourself from a distance, and you start looking at your own picture or your own life that you're leading. Life becomes easy because you are just watching your own movie, and you like it, you don't like it. The moment you don't like it, you have the ability to correct your movie and navigate it into a better space. So what's the most important aspect for your spiritual health would be regular practice. The regular is the most key word here. Regular practice of meditation on a daily basis, that ensures that you have an fantastic spiritual health. The last one that we speak about is the social health. Now, the social health is the relationships that you have with everyone else in the society. You could say your neighbors, your friends, or with everyone else in with whom you are interacting. Now, what does this social health contribute to is, are you really thinking about yourself, or you are also thinking about yourself as well as others? Are you focused only on your own growth, or you're focused on you grow and I also help someone else grow? So these are some of the key elements of you having a good social health. So what we are trying to say is, in this rat race today, especially in the corporate world that I have always been, I have always seen people holding on to information to themselves. And in my own experience, I have always wondered that why do I need to hold on information to myself? Why can't I share all the information that I have, so that I can move forward and someone else can take my place? While I never got the answers, but I just told myself, it's okay. I don't need to change my own character. They are what they are, and I am what I am. I understand this aspect better today, with respect to social health, is because, unless and until we think about ourselves as well as our fellow travelers in this earth, we would not be in a happy space. Now, what did I gain every time I taught someone the skills of what I had? I somehow gain something new on a daily basis, and this is something that I deeply experienced. And today I understand it in a much deeper sense, that the universe responds to you in a way where, when you share what you have with others, it is going to give you much more than what you can do, what you can take in your plate. And this is what is, in true sense, the abundance that you can experience. So another tip, or rather another factor for maintaining a good social health would be, forgive others, have a lot of compassion for others, do a lot of service. Now, what when I mean by compassion is, understand that each one of them is in their own path, which means that they are in their own evolution and we don't need to judge them. It's okay. They will learn as their time comes. So I could be more mature, I could be more educated, I could have more skills, they could have less. It's okay. What can I do? In whatever way I can help them progress further, and thereby you progress further yourself too. So by this, I would like to conclude by saying that if you have a great spiritual health and a social health, you enjoy a beautiful holistic health. So that's it. I would like to share, because this is just a brief overview. So if you have any questions,